Okay, hi everyone, hi geographers. We are looking at 1.3. I believe you have read the reading about what this Butler's model for tourism development is about. You have watched the video that explains it and the limitations of it. Okay, you don't really need to know the limitations, but it is good to be critical of it when you make sense of the world using the Butler's model. Okay, and then you've also watched a short clip about how it applies to understand the tourism development in Ubud, Bali. Okay, so now this video is to extend your learning even further and get you to apply your learning. All right, so you have watched the video, you have learned the different stages. Okay, let's apply it to real life case studies. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Maya Bay. Maya Bay. Okay, where's Maya Bay? Where's Maya Bay? Maya Bay is part of Thailand. Okay, so Singapore is here. Where is Maya Bay? Let's use Google Maps to bring us. Okay, so it's actually in southern Thailand. So Singapore is here. Maya Bay is over here. Okay, south of Phuket. All right, so Phuket has a series of very famous islands, and one of the most famous one is actually Maya Bay. Okay, why is it so famous? Because it is known to be very beautiful. All right, so let's show you the photo spot of it. Okay, so it's very famous for its beauty. Okay, this is one of the more recent photo in 2022, where after something has happened to it, we'll talk more about it in a while. Okay, so how did Maya Bay become so famous? Well, Maya Bay was year 2000. Year 2000, Maya Bay was hardly known. Okay, and nobody knows where is it. And when it was, because it's hardly known as deserted, it was actually featured in this movie called The Beach. Okay, in year 2000, I was in Sec 3. I know you were not born. And this is how deserted it was, such that they can film this movie over there. Okay, so this is how deserted it was. Okay, no tour operators, no services available. All right, so let's guess. All right, which stage of tourism development Maya Bay was at that point in time? Was it exploration, involvement, development, consolidation, stagnation, decline, or rejuvenation? Okay, so it's more of exploration because if you have read about exploration, it's only visited by adventurous tourists. Okay, it's very little, and there's hardly any local involvement as well. Okay, it's usually quite inaccessible. Okay, so what happened over the years was that when this Maya Bay was featured in The Beach, its beauty was known to a lot of people in the world, and a lot of tourists start visiting Maya Bay. Okay, to the point that this is what you will see typically in Maya Bay in a few years ago. Okay, very crowded, a lot of boats. All right, and as the news clip is going to say, it's about it's basically about how it was discovered by The Beach. Okay, so you can see how crowded it is, how many tourists are coming over. Okay, and it reached the point where they were actually damaging the coral reefs that made the beach beautiful. It was damaging the sand was being eroded away. Okay, so which stage of the tourism development model was Maya Bay at? Okay, so some of you may think it's consolidation, some of you may think it's stagnation. Actually, it's more of consolidation. All right, because it's actually more of stagnation because it wasn't rising, the numbers wasn't rising, it was at its limit. Okay, and in fact, it was over capacity already. Okay, so if you have to read carefully, consolidation, it is still growing, but it slowed down. Okay, but for Maya's base case, it has reached its peak already and is exceeding its carrying capacity. And in fact, people were starting to complain that it was getting more crowded, it's no longer so beautiful, and it's no longer so nice to visit anymore. Okay, so what happened was that the tourism authorities and the country's national environment agencies, right, they worry that if this continues, Maya Bay will be damaged, it's no longer attractive, and it will reach a decline. Okay, so what they decided to do was that they actually closed off the park to let nature recover. Okay, so this was from Chinese Asia a few years ago. You can actually take a look online. Okay, they closed it for 6 months, and because of that, a lot of the species begin to return. The beaches were managed to recover. All right, and then they were back to its pristine condition. Okay, it has since opened up again, and what happened was that they restrict the number of tourists, okay, so that it can sustain further. All right, so this is how we can use the tourism development model to make sense what can happen, what is happening now to a tourist destination. All right, now one thing that's mentioned in your textbook very briefly, which is actually a very important concept but not really explained, is carrying capacity. Okay, now carrying capacity, this definition is used in the context of tourist destination, but actually we use carrying capacity for all kinds of contexts. Okay, so when a place exceeds its carrying capacity, it will have negative consequence. Okay, so for example, if a classroom can only hold 45 people, if I put in 50 people, what will happen? Okay, so there will be a lot of negative consequence. Like for example, there's a lot of negative consequence, like for example, it's overcrowded, it's too hot and things like that. Okay, so if I were to do that to a tourist destination, what can be some of the negative consequences then? Okay, so some of you will say that it's get crowded, like what you saw in Maya Bay, okay, and there's some damages to the environment, and of course, if it exceeds, if it take away resources from the people, then the people will also suffer. Okay, we'll explore more about this when we look at impacts, but this is just a rough idea. Now, let's apply carrying capacity through all the stages. What is happening to carrying capacity at each stage? All right, so first one, exploration. What is the carrying capacity at this stage? Okay, it is actually very small. It cannot take much tourists because it's not really developed to be a tourist area. Okay, now what about the next stage, involvement? What is happening to the carrying capacity? All right, it's still small. It may not be taking in much tourists, but as you have read, carrying capacity is more people are providing services. Okay, so the carrying capacity can be increasing slowly because more people are building more place for tourists to stay, more services for the tourists, so it can actually hold more tourists. All right, let's go to the next stage, development. What is happening to the carrying capacity? Okay, the carrying capacity may increase. During development stage, more tourists are coming, but more destinations may respond by building more and more more and more of these services and goods and services to cater to the tourists, so you can hold more tourists. All right, consolidation stage. What do you think can be happening to the carrying capacity? Okay, capacity may grow, but how much this can grow, how fast this can grow, it all goes back to the carrying capacity. Now for development and consolidation, I'm not saying that the carrying capacity must be grown. Okay, there are destinations that love it alone, but there are a lot of destinations that grow their carrying capacity at this stage to so that they can tap on it to grow the industry further and earn more money from it. Okay, next stage, stagnation. What do you think is happening to the carrying capacity? Okay, it's quite straightforward. All right, as mentioned in textbook, the capacity is often as limit or it has exceeded already. So which is why it cannot grow any further. It cannot hold any more tourists. It can try to, but what will happen is if it tries to, it will definitely decline because it will the experience at the place will be worse, and in some cases it's even so damaged to the point that it no longer attracts tourists. Okay, it could be a case where the carrying capacity is not reached. It's just a case where there's competition from elsewhere. All right, and if they work hard to develop the destination further to attract more people, to increase the capacity, carrying capacity, it can get rejuvenated. Okay, so all these different thoughts about different stages of the carrying capacity, please add it into your textbook. I will take a look next lesson. Okay, so let's take a look at, then the last question I'll leave you to is to make sense of things in Singapore. Okay, not these ladies. Let's move on to this one. Okay, so this is my last question for you to take away and apply. So in recent news, before COVID and it's rejuvenated again, it is announced that our integrated resorts, Marina Bay Sands and Sentosa, are going to expand. Okay, so Marina Bay Sands being very popular because of the rooftop bar and the rooftop swimming pool, is going to build a 4th tower actually. Okay, and then Sentosa, the Universal Studios, they're going to add in a Nintendo World. Okay, in Nintendo World in the Universal Singapore Studios Singapore USS. All right, And of course, there's news of Singapore developing more tourism attractions. Okay, there's also news of us trying to have a bigger and better indoor venue to hold more concerts to attract more tourists. Okay, so looking at all these decisions, my question to you would be, which stage of tourism development do you think Singapore is at right now, and why do you think so? Okay, which stage of tourism development in Singapore at right now, and why do you think so? All right, we'll continue to discuss this in class.